Hello, everyone. I'm Kathy Trevino, Managing Broker of Texas for SIDE, and I wanted to welcome you all to our live session, The Great COVID Migration, How to Prepare for the Market Reshuffle. Just a few housekeeping rules. Please be prepared to answer some of the polls that we have on the side because we will be using these questions during our conversation today. So if you can make sure that you do that, we'd really appreciate it if you do that now because we're about to start and we'd love to be able to utilize your answers there. So let's get started here. 2020 was a very unpredictable year, and we all had to shuffle our way from potential normal things that we did to conform to the new normal of working from home in the virtual world. With that, many of employers actually were able to realize that their employees were getting a lot more work done at home than they were at the office. And so employees also realized that they really were enjoying working from home and not having to commute back and forth to work. And so this started the great COVID migration. So this is what our topic's going to be today. And so we have a couple of questions in the polls. And the first question is, what percent of your business is moving to the suburbs or to rural areas? Second is, what types of properties are your clients looking for? Acreage, homes with no deed restrictions, raw land, or single family. And then the third one is, if you have a client looking for rural land, would you refer them? Yes or no? So if you could, please make sure you answer those questions so that we can utilize that. But with that, I'm going to introduce our fabulous panelists that we have here today. We have some wonderful partners here from Texas and California. Our first person I'd like to introduce is Cindy Heyman. She's with Integrity Texas Properties, and Cindy Heyman is a native Houstonian. Cindy has lived and worked in the Woodlands, Texas, which is north of Houston. After spending several years in the energy industry, she discovered that her sales and people skills were ideal for becoming a realtor. Shortly after becoming licensed in 1996, she was named Rookie of the Year, and she soon added management to her skills. She successfully became the #1 profitability real estate office in the Realogy brand for 12 straight years in the Woodlands, Texas. When asked what is her big why, she will tell you it was to be able to send her 3 children to college being a single mom. Cindy's expertise is recruiting, and her accomplishments are she has recruited over 2,000 realtors in her real estate career. Cindy is also past chairman of HAR in 2017 and currently on many boards of director positions, including Texas Realtors and NAR. When she's not working in the real estate, Cindy and her partner of 15 years runs a successful cattle business and rescue farm for many abused animals. So welcome, Cindy. We also have Brad Bevers with Legend Real Estate. After graduating from Texas A&M with a business degree in 2005, Brad moved to Chapel Hill to start his real estate career. He was a full-time agent for 10 years before earning his broker's license in 2015. 2 years later, he bought the business from his grandparents, Ken and Ann Bevers, and has dedicated himself to carrying on the real estate vision. Brad is also author of 2 books, Texas Farm and Ranch Guide and The Mental Game of Real Estate. And we're going to talk a little bit about those books, and he's going to share some of those ideas and things that from his books here in a minute. And last but not least, we have Dustin Cheatman with Upside Real Estate in California. Since 2015, Dustin's thoughtful leadership has earned him numerous prestigious awards before founding Upside, and he was ranked as the #3 agent at a leading national brokerage in Chico, California. His vast personal real estate experience include residential property investment, remodeling, and income properties. Dustin grew up in the Bay Area, but was also drawn to the beauty of the open space found further north. Dustin currently lives in Chico with his wife and 3 children. When he takes a breather from anything but selling property or property real estate related, Dustin enjoys spending lots of time with his family, including traveling, road trips, camping, biking, riding, and swimming. Welcome, Dustin. So
Thank you.
let's get started here. All right. So we're going to look at. Hopefully, you got a chance to look at some of the polling questions and see what those polling, if we got the results in for those polling. We have our team helping us give us those poll questions, and so this is what we have so far. On the first question was, what percentage of your clients are moving to the suburbs? We have 12% only said that about 10% are starting to move to the suburbs, but over 50, we have about 9 votes that said over 50%. So you are starting to see more and more people moving into the suburbs. So that's pretty interesting. We're also as far as the second question, I don't know if they got that question right now. I think they're typing that in here. Is what types of properties are your clients looking for? Acreage properties, no deed restrictions, raw land, or single family? And we're going to get those results in here in a minute. But I know that we're starting to see a lot of people that are looking for larger properties. And the only way to go now is outwards, out of the city, out of the major cities. So we do have most of the people that are on the call today, which is likely so, are saying that they're seeing mostly single families. But we do have quite a few that's saying that they are looking for acreage. And so this is one of the reasons why you have people moving out into rural areas. So with that, as you can see, a trend of more families are heading to the suburbs. And with that, I'm going to start with the first question for Brad. Brad, I understand that you recently wrote a book that we actually just mentioned in your bio. Can you share with us some of the topics in the book that relate to the kinds of trends that we're now seeing with more people moving into these rural areas?
Sure. Thanks, Kathy. Yes, I wrote a book called the Texas Farm and Ranch Guide that kind of gives people an idea of what to expect on farm and ranch property. I work between Houston and Austin, and we're seeing a lot of people who want to move out, have a small family farm, or even just get acreage with the idea of building in the future once they eventually retire. So for my business, 2020 was our best year. We have 38 years of experience in the area. This is a family business that my grandparents started, but we're seeing a big influx of people, not only from Houston and Austin and other areas in Texas, but also from other states, from California, from Oregon, from a lot of other areas. People are moving this way, and they're looking for something a little bit different with more space outside of the city. And as those amenities have grown in the rural areas, Amazon Prime and other access to things, living in the country isn't what it used to be. So people are more and more comfortable moving further out these days.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with you there. I think e-commerce has really made it easy for people to be able to live where they truly would love to live, and the outdoor living and all of that, and they don't have to worry about having to go to the grocery store or the mall or wherever they want, because they can order it and it's there within days. Sometimes within the same day, with all the stores now doing groceries and all of that stuff too, where they can deliver it. So that's pretty interesting. So can you tell me a little bit more about your book? I mean, the differences in the two books and why we want to go and pick those books up?
Sure. So the Farm and Ranch Guide is really written primarily for clients. So I wrote that as primarily a lead generation tool. So it's tells buyers and sellers what they need to know about property. I use it for prospecting. I've sent out thousands of copies, mostly that I've given away for free, but it works really well for that. If you've ever thought about writing a book as a real estate agent, I would really encourage you to go down that path. It's a great way to build authority and credibility quickly, to kind of establish yourself as an expert in your geographic area, or like I have in a specific area of real estate. The Mental Game of Real Estate is a book that I published last year, right before the pandemic started, that's geared more towards real estate agents. My goal is to use that book really as a recruiting tool as we grow our company and just kind of let other agents know how I grew my business and how I used the Texas Farm and Ranch Guide to grow my business and kind of what I do differently. So those are the two ways. I think, as I know a lot of people are thinking about ways to grow their business in kind of a niche market right now because of the pandemic. I think writing a book or establishing, even if it's a short guide and it's not, not a full book, I think it's something that the agents should really consider right now.
Most definitely. I mean, you always want to keep yourself out there and share your expertise. So that's definitely, I really appreciate that. Um, so Cindy, we're actually looking at some of the questions here, and one of the questions I have for you, if you currently live on a farm, or it's called Laid Back Acres, is that correct?
That is correct, and nothing about it is laid
Awesome.
back.
Oh, I can only imagine. So what kind of advice would you like to share when purchasing a farm or these type of properties? I mean, um, we actually got a question too, is one of the questions was for Cindy, what was the most difficult thing that you had to learn when you started your farm?
Well,
I got two
Kathy,
questions in there.
okay, great. Well, 5 years ago, we decided to invest in property, which a lot of consumers are looking at today. And after getting out on the property, we bought 25 and a half acres from the beginning. And we absolutely loved being there, being out there with the nature. And so our short-term goal was to build a home. So we built our home out there and absolutely loved the farming aspect of it. What I didn't know about being in a rural area is all the things that you have to know about a piece of property, and that is, well and septic, ag exemptions, things that I have had to learn. I'd like to call myself a Google cowgirl because when we first bought the property, I quickly learned about what was called rollback taxes. And rollback taxes was if I wasn't going to continue to leave the cattle on the property, then I would have to pay full taxes and it would roll back. So those are some things. So your next question is you wanted to know about, the farming and the animals. I can tell you we're Google cowgirls. We were so excited, to learn about the cattle, knew nothing about it. I never have driven a tractor in my life. And, it's been pretty interesting. But, my advice to someone who's looking is do your homework. There's a lot of things to learn about well and septic, propane, number one being internet. Brad and I live about 12 miles apart. I can't get the internet that Brad has. So, those are some things that, you would like to tell your clients.
Most definitely. I mean, now, especially in the world of the virtual world that we live in, I mean, I could see how frustrating that could be if you don't have internet, or if it's not strong enough because we're constantly, I mean, this is our life now. And so I'm sure as, people continue to move out rural, they're going to be developing all of those things and those things will come. But that is something that you want to, talk to your clients. Yeah.
Absolutely,
I mean, there's
absolutely.
so many things, like you said, well and septic. People who live in the city have never even thought about, what does that mean? Thought about it, or have ever had to do that. And so these are some of the things that for those of us who live out more in the suburbs, we live in the suburbs, and I have three homes. I have two rental properties and our own personal property, and all three of them are on septic. Um, and so, but before then, city girl, never thought I would, never even knew what a septic was. I heard about it, but I'm like, never thought, I had to get these things pumped and stuff like that. So it's
Well,
pretty interesting
and the
on some of the things
maintenance.
that the maintenance,
Yeah,
correct?
the maintenance,
Um,
you don't realize the maintenance on these. And, if you've had a conventional system before and something happens to your septic, you have to go to aerobic system, which is totally different. So these are a lot of things that we had to learn. But my biggest obstacle was learning about cattle. We've learned to give our own shots, and it gets expensive taking them to the vet. We had to buy additional land. These are a lot of things that a consumer doesn't understand. So, when they're talking about farm and ranch, we also want to talk to them about how big do you want your farm to be? Or, are you planning to live out here? Or is this going to be something for weekend?
Yeah, that's important, because that's how much time you're going to be putting into it. I remember when you discussed, or we talked about one time when you had to put up your fencing, and those are the type of things that you don't even, people don't even think about fencing and cross fencing and
Yeah.
all of those things that you have to prepare for, whether it's a farm or a ranch or all these other things that come along with it. Brad and Dustin, y'all may have some information on this. What have been y'all experience also, and how do you explain when it comes to more of like mineral rights? Because that's another thing when you're purchasing rural property. A lot of times these properties come with mineral rights, or may not. Can you discuss how you would address that when it comes to a client that may be asking about mineral rights? Brad, do you want to answer that
Sure,
one?
sure. Yeah, that's other than price, we deal with mineral rights more than any other issue in my area in Texas. So every state is a little bit different. In Texas, once the mineral rights are severed from the physical property, they stay severed. So unless there's some clause in that mineral reservation where they would revert back, which is unusual, they stay separated from the property. So there's a lot of legwork that goes into looking at who owns the royalties, who owns the leasing rights, who owns the bonus rights on the property, who has control of the surface. Are there any surface waivers where the royalty owner has waived the right to put anything on the surface of the property? So there's a big learning curve when you're trying to learn about mineral rights. I'm sure Cindy's experienced that too, but the best thing to do, and other than have kind of a working knowledge of those terms, is to find a really good oil and gas lawyer and landman who you can work with your clients on deals that get really complicated. Because some of the deals in Texas where the minerals were reserved 100 years ago and split between multiple property owners, it's almost impossible to know exactly what you're getting without a lot of expertise behind you.
Yeah. Yeah, and that can be pretty scary. I mean, and that's one of the reasons why, you definitely want to have an expert, someone like yourself, someone who deals in farm and ranch, to understand what to look for, who to contact, what you need to do when these type of situations occur, how title is going to be drawn. And I'm sure there's attorneys at some points that have to draw some of this documentation up as well, so that way, the transfers properly. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, especially when it comes to mineral rights. We got a couple of questions here. And so one of the questions is, when you are looking at rural property for a client, do you help them with land maintenance budgeting? Does anyone help with any kind of budgeting when it comes for land or maintenance? You may have any?
I can answer that. Brad can answer that. Me being a newbie into the farm and ranch, I just tell them what I've experienced. But I know, from reading Brad's book, Brad probably is the expert on that.
Yeah, so, I mean, as far as budgeting goes, every property is different. So, looking at the property with your client and helping them see, one of the things that we have a lot of out in my area is weesach trees or mesquite trees. So those are really can be very expensive to eradicate. So until you look at the property with your client and kind of know what the use is going to be for them, if you're going to try to develop hay on a property or even run cattle, you really don't want much weesach on your property. It can be a real nuisance. It's also very expensive to get rid of, and it takes a long time. So certainly we help with maintenance, budgeting, trying to help people see the big difference in price. In my area, land can go from anywhere from $7,000 to $8,000 an acre up to $40,000 an acre. So that's a big gap depending on exactly what you're looking at and what has already been done to the land, how it's been set up for the future already, or what the new landowner is going to have to invest to make it work for them.
Yeah, and Kathy, another investment, issue is that when we got our land, we did not know anything about, planting grass or fertilizing or build, it didn't have ponds on there, so we have invested in ponds and, new fencing. So it can be quite expensive just to keep up with, whatever exemption you're going to keep on the property. So it's an education, that you can give to your client and kind of just tell them what, like Brad said, what are you going to use the land for? We had no idea. We just jumped into it like most consumers that live in the city. And, but we have no regrets. We absolutely love what we do.
Oh, I know. I follow you on Facebook, and I see all the great pictures when your calves have given birth, and you have a new donkey, or how many animals do you have on your farm?
Oh, that's a great question. Right now we have 30 heads of cattle. We have 2 bulls and 28 mamas that are all due. We just had a new baby girl, in fact, a few minutes ago, a new baby heifer. We're kind of like, the mothering type. And when we get a new baby, it's like, oh, we love this baby, We have donkeys that we've rescued. We've rescued horses. We have 2 adult horses. We have a mini horse. We have a pig. We have chickens. Everybody that knows that you have land always has an animal. I finally had to say, no more, no more. We have dogs. We have feral cats. I'm a big scaredy about snakes, and that was my big apprehension about moving to the country was snakes, and so we've got, quite a few feral cats, and love it. But I love my garden. I love to, we plant our grass, we till our fields. We both have our own tractors. It is quite an expense, but a rewarding lifestyle for sure.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I think that a lot of people really dream about that, living on a farm, but they don't really think about the hard work and labor, blood, sweat, and tears that goes into working on the farm. There's a lot that goes into it. So yeah, I can only imagine. So we got another question here, kind of, related, but not. I don't know if one of you want to take this one, but it says, what cap rates are typical for multifamily investment properties, 4-unit buildings? And it's maybe a different, what percentage of gross income would you expect to spend on expenses on your market? So what percentage of gross income would you expect to spend on expenses in your market? So I guess rephrasing the question, just what kind of expenses, I guess, are we expecting to spend in more of a farm and ranch market, I guess, is what they're trying to say. Not really sure for this panel, but as far as an investment for, percentage of gross income, what do y'all say? What can any of y'all give any idea of what that may be?
Well, I can sell.
If they're, yeah.
Go ahead, Brad. Go ahead, Brad. Okay, for myself,
I was just going to say,
you go.
We're going to go ahead and let Brad take this one.
Okay. Yeah, if you're asking, what percentage of the income from a property is going to go towards expenses, for most of my clients, it's really all of it. There's, most of your income goes towards expenses, if not more. I mean, having a small farm or ranch is really more of a hobby and a way to keep your agricultural tax exemption. So it's not a money-making enterprise unless you're looking at thousands of acres, or you're lucky enough to get very cheap land, which you're not going to do, in our market. So that's what I would say. But Cindy, I know Cindy has some personal experience there.
I'm going to agree with you. It takes, a lot of your money that you make. It goes back into the farm. You've got to start with, our property. We had to do our barn. We had to do our cross fencing. So if we're lucky enough to break even, when we sell our cattle, to pay for, the feed and the vet and pay our taxes, that's a win-win. But right now we're 5 years into it and we're nowhere near making a profit. It's more for pleasure right now. And I have to agree 100% with Brad.
Yeah. And I could see that. I mean, the cost is just out the roof, and especially when you're developing raw land, there's so much that goes into it. Just, from laying down electricity and making sure you have what you need, and that can be very costly to, raising pigs and chickens and cattle and all of those things can just be very, the feed and all of that stuff is very, very expensive. So I want to ask a question for Dustin here. So one of I don't know if we have the poll on here for the last question of our poll was, if you have a client looking in rural areas that you're not familiar with, and just areas that you're not familiar with, would you refer them out? And we did get the answer to that, and the majority of the people in this session said yes. Dustin, can you share with us why it's important to build a referral network when selling in the area?
Yes, I can. Yeah, I thank you for that question. That's a great question. So, and I'd like to bring just another perspective on this topic too, is during this COVID, the only place you can be is home. So buy a home you like. And I think that's been a thought process, and not everybody is running to large ranches or even small hobby ranches. We have people in California that are leaving the Bay Area and are looking at communities like Chico, like Redding, like Sacramento as much lower cost to live, much cheaper housing. I mean, in our area, you can buy an $800,000 home and you're looking like the Kardashians. Our average sale price is $425,000 for a single family home. So it's really not that hard to move up to Chico or Northern California and really substantially move up your quality of home. So I would absolutely refer buyers to agents that have local knowledge of the area that they're looking at going to. And I've had buyers personally that want to, leave Chico and go to other places, and they're maybe looking at Bend, Oregon, Portland, or, Phoenix. And I go and I refer agents in each of those communities to talk to my buyer and give them information about that community. Really, with the COVID migration, there's an opportunity that each agent should realize to recapture some of the sale. If you place a referral, hopefully you earn a referral fee when your buyer buys. And if they're not going to work with an agent you refer, they're probably going to work with an agent they find on their own. So if this is one way to and again, if they buy a $500,000 home in Chico, 25% maybe of that commission isn't a lot, but for one phone call, that's quite a lot of money to make. So I've developed some strategies, if you want me to share, on how to place referrals that actually do end up closing with the agent you place them with, rather than running off with another agent.
Yeah, I'd love
you guys
to
want to hear some of that?
Steps.
Okay. Well, I mean, I believe it's really important to build that referral network and call on agents and kind of interview them and say, hey, I got a client who's looking to, move in this area. Would you be interested in showing them property? If it's an area close to me that I should be able to serve within a 1 hour drive, but I can't be in two places at the same time, I actually will Venmo agents and pay them per property to show my clients. And then I also tell them, when we close, if we write on and close on a property that you showed my clients, I'll pay you a referral fee just as an extra thank you for, you want to really incentivize that agent to really work with your client. And I found that it's very helpful to follow up with not only your buyer, but the agent you referred them to, and ask both, how did it go? Have a similar phone call with each of them. How did it go? How did you like working with that person? And send them a thank you card. And continue to work that, because if you don't stay involved, your buyer can feel uncomfortable with that situation, or not even realize that you may have something to benefit by working with that agent. They'll go call the listing agent, sign a contract. So I've built relationships with agents by doing just what I've suggested. And really, on the receiving end, it's important to network with agents, and work well with when you get that phone call where an agent wants to place a referral. Communicate how much you would love to work with their client, and that you will stay in contact with them and give them updates and assure them that you have the time, you have the knowledge, the expertise in your area. And if that client will work with you, you'll be prompt to paying the referral. That's a really important thing that I look for when I contact agents. And I go through Side. If we don't have a Side partner in an area, I look on Yelp. And you want to be able to distinguish yourself amongst all the hundreds of agents that would love to get a referral. So it's important to do those things. So don't forget to ask your clients when they tell you that they're moving out of the area. You could say, hey, can I place you with a top agent in my referral network? And I even guarantee, I say, if you don't like the agent that I place you with, just let me know and I'll handle placing you with another agent. And that removes the uncomfortableness of a client meeting an agent, blindly. And if they don't like that agent, they feel like they've got to stick with that person because their favorite agent from their home city has referred them. No, it's not the case at all. I want my clients to know that if you don't like the agent, you just maybe didn't hit it off, that you can let me know, and I'll handle that conversation of letting that agent know that you're moving on and contacting another agent. And just with these tips I've shared, I've been able to add a significant amount to my business by referrals. So hope that's helpful.
Definitely, that's very helpful. I think it's, outgoing referrals or incoming referrals, that's a huge business in itself. And I think that's an additional income that agents a lot of times don't even think about. When people say, well, I'm moving to, California or Texas or Florida or just a totally different state, it doesn't even have to be in states that that we're in as far as Side. It can be anywhere. Make those relationships, and we know people from all over by being associated with the NAR. You have opportunities to referral, and to meet people, and make sure that you're sending those referrals and not just dismissing those, because it's a great opportunity for you to make additional income, but also partnering with them with the right agent. I think that's what you stated. It also is, we're talking about farm and ranch. We get some amazing referrals off of the workplace, our Side workplace, and it's a great opportunity for you to go in there. And we're seeing them all the time. It's like, hey, I need a Dallas agent. I need someone who's working in Southern California or whatever it may be. And all these agents are chiming in. But if you're not looking at the workplace, the Side workplace, you're missing out. And that's within our Side network. And it's happening on a daily basis. And so I strongly recommend to take a look at that. If you're not opening those workplace referrals, look at those, because that's maybe something that's coming up in your area that you can look at and help someone else at. And we are the experts in our area. We have people who are working, with, throughout Side that work with farm and ranch, like many of you guys, commercial, or just, apartments or leasing and different things. And so we want to make sure that we're connecting our clients with the right agents. So does, I was just looking to see if we had any other questions to make sure we're not missing out on anything here, but it looks like nothing's coming in as of right now. So if you do have any questions for the panelists, we want to make sure that you're, go ahead and write those into the chat, because this is your opportunity time to talk to someone who deals in farm and ranch and rural properties. And we really want to make sure that we get your questions answered here today. So Brad, do you have anything else that maybe, that we didn't get a chance to discuss, or we didn't get asked on, that you may want to share with us when it comes to dealing in the rural areas?
Sure. Yeah, I'd say, another thing that comes to mind, I get a lot of the time people will come to me, they don't know exactly what they're looking for, but they will, it's not unusual for me to have people ask and say that they would just want, something small, 5 or 6 acres, so they don't have much to take care of. And my advice to people when they're looking for something like that is, if you buy 5 or 6 acres, you don't really have a country property. You've got a really big yard. If you buy 50 acres, you can have a ranch, and you don't have to run cattle like Cindy does herself. You can lease it to somebody who runs cattle. You can lease it to somebody for hay. You can do a wildlife exemption. So the point is, if you want something that's easy to take care of in rural property, it can often be easier to take care of a larger property than it is a smaller property. So, I always encourage my clients to keep that in mind, and just, have that mindset when you come out to the country, because it's a little bit backwards from what you would think about in the city.
That's good
Absolutely.
to know. I don't, for sure. That's really good information there. Yeah. What about you, Cindy? Do you have anything else that you want to share with us? Any nuggets in there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, although I live in Hempstead, Texas, my market area is the Woodlands, which is probably 150 degrees difference. So living in Waller County, that's what I do. And Brad's absolutely right. We chose to continue with the cattle because we wanted animals. We got into the rescue business because people had a need. But I had clients that had a bee exemption, having honeybees. But when you talk about, and I want to go back to the inspections, because if someone's looking for something, we never in our wildest dreams thought that we would, have 25 acres. Now we have 43. We moved our parents out there. It was a different lifestyle for both of our parents, to be close to us. But I just had a client or friend call the other day and ask about a septic system. Her client did not get an inspection on the septic system. It ended up needing a new system, and it was quite a lot of money. I think it ended up costing about $7,000 for a new system. So these are some things that you need to know. I would like to follow up on Dustin's question about outgoing referrals. Your Facebook is a great way to, I'm always a hub for agents because I've been in the business for a very long time, and people follow me on Facebook. They'll ask me, do I know an agent? I'm giving them all to side agents. I'm saying, hey, this is a side agent that, that I've worked with, give them a call. So outgoing referrals is a great source of referral business. Even if we're not making money, we can kind of introduce them to the side platform.
For sure. And that was one of the new questions that actually just came up. Sounds like you answered this. Is going into Texas, are you open to advanced introduction for referrals?
Absolutely. Always. Any way to make money, hey, legitimately.
For sure. And I think that's the answer, yes, for all of us. Dustin, did you want to add on to that?
Well, a mentor to me in real estate said, a great way to get sued is to represent a buyer in a market you're not familiar with. So, when you guys were talking about mineral rights and the different types of trees to look out for, I was just going, man, I would never try to represent a buyer in a market I don't know anything. Not knowing what you don't know can cost you a lot. So, stick with the referrals outside the market that you have good knowledge in.
I can agree with that 100%. Being the broker, I'm always terrified. And that's the first thing I tell agents is if you don't know your market or the area, refer it out to someone who does. We as realtors, say we're professionals and we're the professional in the area. But if you're selling in an area or a type of property that you're not in, you just don't really know, it's okay to refer it out. It's okay to make sure that they get with the right person so that your client, it's ultimately, we're here to help the clients and we want to make sure that they're getting the proper representation. And so you definitely don't want to put them or yourself into a situation that can come back to bite you. So, whether it's a type of property, a different type of property that you're not familiar with, or even in a different city or state, we always say, hey, we have a Texas license, we can sell anywhere in Texas, but there's a lot of different areas in Texas that it's not all the same. You have coastal, you have all kinds of different things. And if you're not familiar, refer it out. And, those, just like what we were saying, with farm and ranch, there's so many things that you need to know, whether it's mineral rights or fencing or cross fencing and all these different things. You don't want to put yourself in a bad situation. So, make sure that you're following that. Keep the, clients first always. You want to put your clients' needs first always, and get them with the right person. So don't be shy to say, hey, I'm not too sure about that, but I'll get you with the right person. And we have some amazing side agents within our community all over Texas, California, and Florida that will be more than happy to help. And if it's in a state that we're not in, still reach out, because we have so many people that have communications and relationships with other agents in different cities and different states that we can possibly partner you up with those agents too, and get your clients with the right agent. So ultimately, we want to make sure that that's the case here. So we're almost at our time. So I just want to give our panel one last opportunity to see if you'll have anything else that you may want to add, and end off on a good note here. Let's start with Cindy.
The only thing I can say is let's just onward and upward. It's going to be a great year in 2021. I do like the fact about referring within our network. And what I don't know about farm and ranch, I'm calling Brad.
All right, Brad, I think you're next.
All right. Yeah, not much else to add. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, Kathy. Enjoyed it. If anybody, you got my information through the side network, feel free to reach out to me. If anybody has specific questions about the book or Texas Farm and Ranch, I'm happy to send you a free copy of it.
Wonderful. And Dustin, anything else you'd like to add?
And as the only agent in California on this video call, I want to say, while California may be last on the list for where people are moving into, we have a lot of people moving within California. They need to stay near family or stay near their rental properties they own. And Northern California is booming. It is exploding. We're getting a lot of people moving from the Bay Area and LA areas. And so don't forget about Northern California. We have lots of wide open spaces, and our average days on market are between 10 and 15 days. So it's not sleepy here. You definitely want to refer your clients to the right agent. I believe the right agent matters.
For sure. Well, you guys were all amazing, and I think that our audience really got a lot from this session. I just want to remind them that this session is being recorded, and it will be available for everyone to be able to rewatch. So please make sure you do that. I want to thank you all for attending today. Thank my panelists for all the great advice that they were able to share with us today. And just, I want to wish everyone a very happy 2021. Bless you all. And we're looking forward to seeing you all at our, hopefully, not virtual session, next forum in August, that it would be live. So hopefully we'll be able to all meet then. So I do wish you all success, and we'll talk to you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
It's
Thank
been
you.
a pleasure.
Kathy.